There is a strange kind of power that most people never learn because they spend their entire lives trying to be understood. They explain too much. They react too fast. They defend themselves against every accusation, every misunderstanding, every cold look, every moment of disrespect. They believe peace comes from proving themselves. They believe control comes from speaking louder, clarifying harder, and making sure everyone finally sees their good intentions. But the brutal truth is this: the more you react, the more power you give away. The more you explain yourself, the more permission you hand over for people to judge your reality. Real psychological strength begins the moment you understand something uncomfortable. Not everyone deserves an explanation. Not every insult deserves a reaction. Not every battle deserves your presence. Some people only survive because they keep you emotionally involved. The second you stop participating, their power collapses. The strongest people in any room are rarely the loudest. They are rarely the ones proving points or defending themselves. They are often the quiet observers who understand human behavior deeply enough to know that emotional reactions are information. Every time someone provokes you and you immediately respond, you reveal your emotional buttons. You expose your fears, insecurities, frustrations, and emotional patterns. Manipulative people notice this faster than anyone. They learn what bothers you. They learn what scares you. They learn how to control the direction of your emotions without you even noticing. Suddenly, your entire emotional world becomes predictable, and predictable people are easy to control. Psychological power begins with emotional silence. This does not mean weakness. It does not mean becoming cold or heartless. It means learning the discipline of pause. Most people live in reaction mode. Someone criticizes them, and they react. Someone misunderstands them, and they explain. Someone spreads rumors, and they panic. But powerful people understand something different. Time exposes truth far better than emotional defense ever could. When you stop rushing to explain yourself, something fascinating happens. You start noticing who actually cares to understand and who only wanted a reaction from you in the first place. The first law of psychological power is simple but difficult. Never react emotionally to emotional bait. Emotional bait exists everywhere. A rude comment, passive aggression, silence designed to punish you. A manipulative message sent only to trigger guilt or insecurity. Most people fail this test instantly because they mistake emotional urgency for emotional importance. Just because something feels urgent does not mean it deserves immediate attention. Many conflicts are traps disguised as conversations. Some people do not want understanding. They want access to your emotional energy. They want proof they can still control your attention. And every reaction you give becomes emotional fuel for their behavior. Imagine how many times people have changed your mood with just a sentence. A text message ruined your day. A criticism made you question yourself for hours. Someone ignored you, and suddenly your confidence disappeared. This is how emotional dependence quietly forms. You begin allowing other people to decide your inner emotional climate. But psychological strength begins when your emotions stop becoming public property. Not everyone deserves access to your nervous system. Not everyone deserves the authority to disturb your peace. Silence confuses people who expected chaos. This is why emotionally reactive individuals struggle when faced with calm energy. They know how to fight anger. They know how to manipulate guilt. They know how to exploit emotional explanations. But they often do not know what to do with someone who simply refuses to participate emotionally. There is a hidden strength in restraint that most people underestimate. The person who controls emotional intensity controls the interaction. This is not manipulation. This is emotional self-respect. The second law of psychological power is this: never over-explain yourself. Over-explaining often comes from fear. Fear of rejection. Fear of misunderstanding. Fear of losing approval. Many people believe long explanations make them look honest, but psychologically, the opposite often happens. The more someone desperately explains themselves, the more uncertain they appear. Confidence rarely screams. Confidence rarely begs for validation. Confidence understands that truth does not require endless defense. Some people will misunderstand you no matter how perfectly you explain yourself. This truth hurts because humans naturally crave connection and approval. But maturity means accepting that misunderstanding is part of life. You can explain your intentions for hours and still be painted as the villain inside someone else's story. You can prove your loyalty and still be accused of betrayal. You can show kindness and still be called selfish. Once you understand this, something powerful changes inside you. You stop exhausting yourself trying to manage everyone's perception of you. The need to constantly explain yourself often comes from emotional survival patterns built years earlier. Maybe you learned that staying safe meant proving innocence. Maybe peace only existed when others approved of you. Maybe conflict felt dangerous, so over-explaining became protection. But what protected you before may now be draining your confidence. Adults who constantly explain themselves often unknowingly carry invisible emotional habits from the past. True growth means recognizing those patterns and choosing something stronger. The third law of psychological power is learning to ignore what was designed to distract you. Not every opinion matters. Not every criticism deserves emotional space in your mind. People project constantly. Their anger, insecurity, jealousy, frustration, and disappointment often spill onto others. If someone deeply dislikes themselves, they may criticize confidence. If someone feels powerless, they may attack people who appear calm. If someone fears abandonment, they may create emotional drama to force attention. Understanding psychology changes everything because you stop taking every emotional moment personally. Ignoring negativity is not weakness. It is filtration. Imagine treating your mind like valuable property. You would not allow strangers to dump emotional garbage into your living room every day. Yet many people allow random criticism to live inside their heads for months. One insult becomes mental replay. One betrayal becomes obsession. One misunderstanding becomes endless overthinking. Mental peace disappears because emotional boundaries never existed. Psychological power grows every time you refuse unnecessary conflict. Some people confuse maturity with submission, but calmness is not surrender. Ignoring disrespectful behavior does not mean approving it. Sometimes it means refusing to reduce yourself to chaos. There are moments when walking away protects more dignity than winning an argument ever could. Not every conflict deserves your intelligence. Not every disagreement deserves your emotional labor. The fourth law of psychological power is mastering emotional neutrality. Emotional neutrality is not emotional numbness. It is the ability to remain emotionally balanced when others expect emotional collapse. Think about how rare that actually is. Most people are emotionally controlled by external events. Praise makes them feel worthy. Criticism destroys them. Approval excites them. Rejection devastates them. Their emotional identity constantly shifts based on other people's behavior. But psychologically powerful individuals create internal stability. Their identity is not borrowed from outside opinions. This level of calm does not happen overnight. It develops through discomfort. It develops every time you resist reacting impulsively. Every moment you choose silence over emotional chaos, self-respect quietly grows. Emotional discipline feels difficult at first because reacting is addictive. Humans naturally want relief. We want closure. We want fairness. We want emotional certainty. But strength often grows in uncertainty. Sometimes peace comes not from answers, but from refusing emotional entanglement. The fifth law of psychological power is understanding silence. Silence has a language most people fail to understand. Silence communicates confidence when words would reveal insecurity. Silence creates mystery when oversharing creates weakness. Silence protects energy when arguments steal focus. Some people become uncomfortable when they cannot emotionally read you. They expect emotional access. They expect instant reactions. They expect explanations. But silence disrupts unhealthy expectations. People often reveal themselves when you stop reacting. Manipulators become louder. Attention seekers become more dramatic. Emotionally immature people become frustrated. Why? Because they depended on emotional access to you. Once emotional access disappears, hidden motives often become obvious. This is why emotional distance can reveal truth faster than confrontation ever could. The sixth law of psychological power is refusing to chase validation. Many people secretly live for approval. They want everyone to understand them, like them, agree with them, respect them, and admire them. But approval is unstable. The same people praising you today may criticize you tomorrow. If your confidence depends on public opinion, emotional peace will always remain fragile. Real confidence grows privately. It grows through self-respect, emotional discipline, and quiet consistency. Validation addiction makes people easy to manipulate. Compliments control them. Criticism controls them. Rejection controls them. Their emotional world becomes dependent on outside approval. But psychological freedom begins when you stop negotiating your self-worth with strangers, coworkers, family members, or toxic personalities. You stop shrinking yourself to fit expectations. You stop explaining your choices to people committed to misunderstanding you. The seventh law of psychological power may be the hardest one of all: detach without hatred. Many people think emotional detachment means anger, revenge, or emotional coldness. But true power looks different. Real power means emotionally releasing what no longer deserves your energy. You stop chasing closure from people incapable of honesty. You stop expecting emotional maturity from emotionally immature individuals. You stop begging for understanding from people invested in confusion. And quietly, something extraordinary begins happening inside you. Peace starts returning. The world constantly pressures people to react. Social media rewards outrage. Arguments reward emotional intensity. Drama gets attention. But calm people possess something rare. They understand that attention is expensive and emotional energy is valuable. They choose carefully where their focus goes. They do not waste weeks obsessing over people committed to misunderstanding them. They do not spend hours defending themselves to strangers. They understand something essential. Protecting peace is not selfish. It is survival. The most dangerous kind of confidence is quiet confidence. It does not announce itself. It does not demand recognition. It simply exists. People feel it without understanding why. Calm energy unsettles chaos because it cannot be controlled easily. When someone realizes they can no longer provoke you, manipulate you, guilt you, or emotionally destabilize you, the entire relationship changes. Sometimes they grow, sometimes they leave. Either way, clarity arrives. Life becomes lighter when you stop attending emotional battles that were never yours to fight. Exhaustion decreases, anxiety weakens, overthinking slowly disappears. You stop replaying conversations endlessly in your head. You stop proving your goodness to people committed to misunderstanding it. You begin trusting your own judgment more deeply. Inner stability replaces emotional confusion. There is immense strength in becoming emotionally unavailable to disrespect. There is freedom in refusing unnecessary explanations. There is peace in understanding that silence can sometimes speak louder than emotional defense. You begin realizing something that changes everything. Your value was never dependent on being understood by everyone. Your peace was never supposed to depend on someone else's approval, and your power was never meant to live inside reactions. Never react, never explain. Just ignore when ignoring protects peace. Speak when wisdom matters. Leave when respect disappears. Stay calm when chaos tries to recruit you. Over time, people stop seeing someone easy to provoke. They start seeing someone impossible to emotionally control. And that is where psychological power quietly begins. There comes a moment in life when silence stops feeling uncomfortable and starts feeling powerful. At first, most people fear silence because silence feels like losing. It feels like surrender. It feels like weakness. When someone insults you, ignoring them feels unnatural. When someone lies about you, staying quiet feels unfair. When someone disrespects you, walking away feels impossible. But psychological power grows when you realize that not every fight deserves your presence. Some battles are carefully designed distractions. Their only purpose is to steal your peace, your attention, and your emotional balance. Once you understand this, something changes inside you. You stop treating every emotional challenge like an emergency. Emotionally intelligent people understand a difficult truth. Many individuals create chaos because chaos gives them control. They provoke reactions because reactions make them feel powerful. They criticize because criticism creates emotional confusion. They gossip because division gives them importance. But the strongest response to emotional manipulation is often emotional non-participation. You stop feeding the cycle. You stop defending yourself to people who already decided who you are. You stop exhausting yourself trying to change minds committed to misunderstanding you. Instead, you begin protecting something more valuable than approval: your emotional peace. Most people never notice how much energy they waste replaying situations inside their minds. One rude comment becomes a 3-day mental argument. One betrayal becomes endless overthinking. One misunderstanding becomes emotional exhaustion. The mind becomes crowded with noise that serves no purpose. But powerful people develop emotional discipline. They begin asking themselves a quiet question before reacting. Does this deserve my energy? Many times the answer is no, not because the pain is fake, but because peace matters more than proving a point. True confidence grows when you stop needing the final word. Immature people chase victory in every disagreement. They want everyone to admit they were right. They want closure, validation, and emotional revenge. But emotionally mature people understand something deeper. Sometimes winning an argument costs too much peace. Sometimes being understood is not worth emotional damage. Sometimes the strongest decision is stepping away and allowing silence to finish the conversation. The hardest lesson of psychological power is accepting that some people only understand your absence. No amount of kindness changes disrespect. No amount of explanations fixes emotional immaturity. No amount of patience teaches empathy to someone unwilling to learn it. Eventually, protecting yourself becomes necessary, not through anger, not through revenge, but through quiet distance. You stop giving emotional access to people who repeatedly misuse it. When you stop reacting to everything, life becomes strangely peaceful. Drama loses its grip. Anxiety softens. Emotional exhaustion slowly disappears. You begin noticing something powerful. Your calm becomes stronger than other people's chaos. The world may still be loud, disrespectful, and unpredictable, but your inner world becomes steady. And once a person learns how to protect their peace without explaining themselves to everyone, they become emotionally difficult to break.